Calmness is a sign of inner mastery. It is not the product of external silence or the absence of challenge. It is forged in the fire of adversity, honed through discipline, and revealed when chaos knocks at your door. In a world obsessed with noise, speed, and reaction, the individual who remains calm is often mistaken for passive or indifferent. But calm is not the absence of passion. It is passion under perfect control. It is the quiet confidence of someone who has learned the laws of the mind, who understands that real power never rushes, never shouts, never panics. The calm person walks into a room and changes its energy without saying a word. They are not racing to prove their worth because they know it. Their strength comes not from being louder or more aggressive, but from being unshakable. When storms rise, when tempers flare, when decisions become difficult, the calm one stands apart. They do not get swept into the tides of confusion. Instead, they become the anchor. The presence that reassures, stabilizes, and leads without needing to force. You see, mastery of the self begins with the mastery of emotion. And the most dangerous enemy of progress is not failure, but loss of control. People are often defeated not by their circumstances, but by their reactions to them. Anger burns energy, fear poisons clarity. Desperation clouds vision, but calm multiplies your power. It gives you time, space, and perspective. The mind, like a sword, must be sharpened in silence. The sharpest strategies, the boldest moves, the clearest decisions, they come not from panic but from poise. A calm person has trained themselves to delay their response until their mind is clear. They do not allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. They understand that energy must be directed, not leaked. They know that just because the world screams doesn't mean they have to raise their voice. Just because others rush doesn't mean they must abandon their pace. Their rhythm is their power. And because they do not scatter themselves in every direction, they are more precise, more intentional, and ultimately more successful. You can see this mastery in the greatest leaders, not in how they talk, but in how they pause before they speak. In how they listen, in how they weigh their words. They don't show their hand in the heat of emotion. They know that when you control your emotions, you control your narrative. To remain calm is to stay in charge of your state. And when you're in charge of your state, you're in charge of your future. Every moment of restraint is a moment of strength. Every moment of calmness is a moment of creation. Inner mastery is not taught in classrooms. It is earned in moments of pressure. It's when you want to yell, but you breathe instead. When you want to quit, but you take one more step. When the world pushes you to react, but you choose to think. These small decisions, repeated over time, build a fortress within, and the person who builds that fortress becomes immune to noise. They rise above opinions, distractions, and temptations. They do not chase approval because they approve of themselves. To be calm is not to be without fire, it is to be the one who controls the flame, to burn with ambition but not be consumed by it, to pursue greatness without being rattled by obstacles, to know what you want and move toward it with deliberate steps, regardless of how long it takes. That is strength, that is power, and it is rare. Most people chase strength in appearance, in titles, in status, but those are shadows. True strength lies in the invisible, in the silence between thoughts, in the stillness between actions. That stillness is the birthplace of all clarity. When others look for chaos to justify their actions, the calm individual finds opportunity. When others are reacting blindly, the calm mind is observing patterns. When others fold under pressure, the calm one rises, because calm is not complacency. It is readiness, readiness to act with precision, readiness to lead with focus, readiness to win without shouting. And readiness is what separates the prepared from the panicked. Think about how many times you've seen people lose everything not because of a situation, but because of how they responded to it. They said too much. They acted too quickly, they let emotion dictate their strategy, but calm individuals don't operate that way. They are not puppets of circumstance, they are commanders of themselves, and when you command yourself, you can command any room, any challenge, any vision. Because power doesn't come from force, it comes from control. Self-control, mental control, emotional control. That's why calmness is misunderstood. The world looks for action and noise, but real results are built in thought and clarity. In the split second between stimulus and response lies a secret, your choice. Your ability to remain calm in that space determines the quality of your outcome. Anyone can act in panic, few can act in peace. And those who do are the ones who rise the highest and fall the least. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to respond to every provocation. You don't need to prove your value to those who can't see it. That is the wisdom of calm. You rise above the game by refusing to play it on anyone else's terms. You learn to sit with discomfort. You learn to sit with uncertainty. And in doing so, you discover that there is no greater power than the ability to master your own mind. Calm people don't have easier lives, they have stronger habits, they do the inner work that others avoid, they wake up with purpose, they train their thoughts like a warrior trains with a sword, they build routines that strengthen their discipline. And when life tests them, and it always does, they face it with a steady heart and a clear mind. You can cultivate this power. It is not born, it is built. Every time you resist the urge to lash out, you add a brick to your foundation. Every time you stay grounded when others panic, you rise above them in wisdom. Calmness is not a gift for the chosen few. It is a discipline for the determined, and once you build it, it becomes your shield and your weapon. Quiet, invisible, but undeniable, calm minds make calculated moves. When the mind is agitated, clouded by emotion, or driven by the urgency of reaction, it becomes a poor strategist. You may act fast, but you won't act well. You may move, but you won't move forward. The calm mind, on the other hand, remains steady while observing, absorbing, and analyzing. It does not leap at every shadow or flinch at every sound. It waits, it watches, and when it strikes, it does so with intention, precision, and direction. Calmness is the breeding ground of clarity, and clarity is the mother of effective action. When you are calm, your energy is focused. It is not scattered in a dozen directions. You are not trying to win arguments, impress crowds, or respond to every distraction that passes by. You are rooted in purpose, anchored in vision. That stability of thought becomes your competitive edge. The calm mind sees what others miss. It notices the patterns, hears the subtext, watches the body language, and picks up on the timing. It's not just about slowing down, it's about tuning in. And when you are truly tuned in, you can spot opportunities before others even notice them. Calculated moves are not guesses. They are the result of thoughtful preparation, mental discipline, and emotional control. The calm individual has the patience to gather facts before forming opinions, to weigh possibilities before committing resources. They know that great victories are not won through rash decisions, but through deliberate strategy. They don't confuse activity with progress. They understand that sometimes the most powerful action is no action, until the right moment reveals itself. The chess player who waits for the right move will always beat the one who simply rushes to move. When the mind is calm, it becomes a high-performance tool. Like a sniper who slows their breath before the shot, the calm thinker aligns their mind before the move. They do not need to convince others of their intelligence because their results do the speaking. They build a track record of smart decisions, not because they are always right, but because they refuse to act blindly. Emotion-based decisions may satisfy the moment, but they often sabotage the future. Calm minds play the long game. They trade temporary comfort for lasting success. In negotiation, calmness is your shield. You do not react to the first offer, you do not fold under pressure, and you never let the other side sense desperation. You listen more than you speak, and when you speak, your words carry weight, because they are not thrown like darts in frustration. They are placed like stones in a foundation. In business, calmness helps you discern who is serious and who is pretending. You see through gimmicks, you don't rush into partnerships. You ask better questions and you wait for better answers. When money is on the line, when reputation is at stake, or when the world is watching, most people panic. Their minds race, their hands tremble, and their judgment becomes clouded. But the one who remains calm becomes the one who leads, not because they are the loudest, but because they are the most stable. Their calmness becomes the anchor for everyone else's uncertainty, and when people sense that presence, they follow it, because calmness implies confidence, and confidence inspires trust. There is no power in a mind that is constantly reacting. A reactive mind is like a leaf blown by the wind. It goes wherever the gust takes it. But a calm, centered mind, that's the mountain the wind can't move. And when your mind is calm, you can choose your direction with intention. You are not driven by impulse, you are led by principle, and when principle leads, results follow. It's easy to be calm when everything is going well, but true calmness is tested in difficulty. It's when the plan falls apart. When the deal breaks down, when betrayal appears, that's when your calmness becomes your advantage. It keeps you from burning bridges you may need to cross again. It prevents you from making enemies you didn't have to make. It protects your reputation when others are watching how you respond to pressure. And because you are calm, you can pivot instead of collapse. You can adjust instead of explode. You can adapt instead of give up. Calculated moves often appear slow from the outside. People who don't understand may call it hesitation or lack of confidence. But you know better. You know that time spent thinking is not wasted. It's invested. You know that it's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. You don't need to prove your speed because you're aiming for impact. You are playing to win, not to impress. And because you are calm, you can think clearly enough to see the game beyond the game. You can read between the lines, understand hidden motives, and prepare for what others overlook. The calm mind operates on a higher frequency. It is less concerned with noise and more focused on signal. It doesn't get dragged into meaningless battles or exhausted by every emotional twist. It conserves energy, it selects its targets carefully, and when it moves with power. This is how empires are built, not through reaction, but through reflection and response. Every major breakthrough in history was preceded by a moment of still thought. Every revolutionary idea, every daring act, began with a calm space in the mind where it was first envisioned. When you are calm, you are free. Free from the prison of other people's expectations. Free from the manipulation of urgency. Free from the trap of pleasing everyone. You don't rush decisions because others are rushing theirs. You don't say yes because you fear saying no. You are not caught in the illusion that movement equals momentum. Instead, you trust your process, you create space to think, and from that space comes your strategy, your direction, and your dominance. Calmness is what allows the surgeon to operate under pressure. It's what lets the pilot land the plane in a storm. It's what gives the investor the strength to hold when others are selling, and it's what lets the visionary stay focused when critics scream. The calm mind sees past the panic. It sees the bigger picture. It sees not just what is, but what could be, if the right move is made at the right time. Every success story has a moment where the protagonist had to decide under pressure. Some lose their heads and the opportunity slips away. Others remain calm, assess the landscape, and take the step that changes everything. That calm is not luck. It is cultivated. It is trained. It is practiced in small moments so it can rise in big ones. It is the fruit of thousands of tiny decisions where you chose to breathe instead of burst, to reflect instead of react. In the end, calmness is not the absence of challenge, it is your posture in the face of it. The calm mind is not weak, it is disciplined, not slow, it is precise, not disconnected. It is deeply aware, and that awareness is your compass. It guides you when the noise gets loud. It keeps you on course when the storm is near. It gives you the edge not by doing more, but by doing right. Calm minds don't just survive the chaos, they win because of it. Power resides in response, not reaction. This truth may sound simple, but within it lies the foundation of all personal power, leadership, and self-mastery. Reactions are instinctive, impulsive, and often unfiltered. They rise from emotion, fear, ego, or past conditioning. Responses, on the other hand, are intentional. They are born of reflection, awareness, and choice. To respond is to exercise control. To react is to surrender it. Those who constantly react give their power away to everything around them. The words of others, sudden changes, petty frustrations, or even their own mood swings. But those who respond, they retain their power because they choose how and when to use it. Every day presents 100 choices between reaction and response. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and your reaction may be anger. Someone criticizes your work, and your reaction might be defensiveness. A deal falls through, and your reaction may be to blame others or shut down. But what if in those exact moments you paused? What if you took a breath, let the emotion pass through, and then responded, not as a victim of the moment, but as the master of it? That pause is where your power lies. In that pause, you stop being controlled and start controlling. Great leaders are not reactive. They do not allow circumstances to dictate their demeanor. They don't make critical decisions in the heat of anger or desperation. Instead, they create space between stimulus and response. In that space, they assess, they interpret, and they choose. This doesn't make them slow. It makes them wise. It's easy to mistake fast reactions for decisiveness, but rash decisions made in emotion often cost far more than time. Responding means thinking beyond the moment. It means understanding the ripple effects of your words and actions. It means preserving your energy for what truly matters. Most people are slaves to their triggers. They are pulled into every argument, every insult, every inconvenience. They don't understand that in reacting they are leaking power. Emotional energy is finite. Spend it in unguarded reactions, and you have nothing left for creation, focus, or growth. But the individual who learns to respond gains a reputation for calm strength. They are the one others look to in a crisis, the one who doesn't flinch under pressure, the one who doesn't need to raise their voice to be heard. Their restraint becomes their strength. Their stillness becomes their influence. A reaction is often about the past. It's a knee-jerk echo of a wound, a belief, or an unmet need. But a response is about the future. It's guided by purpose, not pain. When someone offends you, the reactive mind demands vengeance or validation. But the responsive mind asks, what outcome do I want? What does this situation call for? Who do I want to be right now? That shift from emotion to intention is transformational. It moves you from being a puppet of your environment to being a sculptor of your destiny. Responding doesn't mean being passive, it means being precise. It means understanding that your energy is a currency and every reaction is a transaction. Some things are not worth the cost. When you react to small things, you shrink your influence. You show the world that you are easily moved, easily provoked, easily thrown off your course. But when you respond from a centered place, you become a presence to be reckoned with. You become the calm in the storm, the adult in the room, the one whose opinion carries weight because it's not thrown around carelessly. There is a difference between force and power. Force is loud, reactive, unstable. Power is quiet, deliberate, consistent. Force pushes against, power pulls in. When you react, you are forcing your emotion into the world. When you respond, you are channeling your power. People respect response. They fear reaction. One builds trust, the other breeds tension. Over time, those who always react become isolated. No one knows what to expect from them, but those who respond build reputations of reliability. Their word is considered, their moves are strategic, their presence is calming. Think about the greatest decisions of your life. Were they made in moments of anger or clarity? Think about the greatest regrets. Were they the result of deliberate choice or thoughtless reaction? This is not a coincidence. When the mind is inflamed with emotion, its vision is narrowed. It can't see the full picture. It focuses only on survival, on defense, on ego. But when the mind is calm, when the response is chosen with care, the decision is likely to stand the test of time. It will reflect not just who you were in the moment, but who you are striving to become. Every reaction builds a habit, so does every response. You are either training yourself to be ruled by emotion or guided by purpose. One leads to exhaustion, the other to growth. Every time you resist the urge to snap, to retaliate, to collapse into your worst instincts, you are strengthening your self-control. You are building a reservoir of power that cannot be taken by external events. People will notice, they may not say it, but they will feel it. They will feel that you are different, not because of what you say, but because of how you carry yourself. You will speak less, but be heard more. You will move slower, but achieve faster. The world will continue to test you. People will say things that poke at your ego. Life will throw delays, disappointments, and disruptions your way, but none of it has power over you unless you give it power. The moment you react without thinking, you hand over the steering wheel, but when you respond with clarity, you remain the driver. You choose your direction, you control the pace, you set the tone. People often look for power in external symbols, titles, money, appearance. But all those things can be taken. What can't be taken is the ability to stay calm in conflict, focused under fire, and composed in chaos. That's real power, and it begins with a simple practice, the discipline to pause. That pause is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the space where great decisions are born and foolish ones are prevented. To live with power is to live with awareness. You become aware of your triggers, aware of your tendencies, aware of the moments that test your limits. And in that awareness you find freedom. You are no longer a slave to emotion, no longer at the mercy of noise. You move with intention, not impulse. You create outcomes instead of being a casualty of them. The power of response is not about suppressing emotion. It is about transforming it. It is about letting the emotion rise, seeing it clearly, and then deciding what to do with it. That's the path of mastery. It takes strength, it takes training, it takes patience, but once you build that capacity, no one can take it from you. Not critics, not chaos, not even failure. You hold the power, not because of what happens to you, but because of how you respond. In a world that runs on urgency, calm is rare, and therefore powerful. Most people are constantly chasing, reacting, rushing from one obligation to the next, desperate to keep up. They measure worth by speed, value by volume, and success by how busy they appear. But true strength doesn't come from how fast you move. It comes from how centered you remain while the world moves around you. When you can be still in the middle of chaos, when you can remain grounded when everything around you demands panic, you become someone who stands out, not by noise, but by presence. Calmness isn't just a personality trait, it's a strategic asset. It's what allows you to hold your vision when others lose theirs. It's what lets you think clearly while others are blinded by the fog of urgency. In every high-pressure situation, there's always one person who keeps their voice low, who speaks less but means more, who moves slower but gets further. That person becomes the magnet in the room. People lean in to listen to them. They want to follow them, not because they shout louder, but because they radiate a confidence that doesn't need to be proved. Urgency is seductive. It gives the illusion of importance. It convinces you that if you're not constantly in motion, constantly available, constantly responding, you're falling behind. But urgency rarely leads to excellence. It leads to exhaustion, error, and regret. It turns your day into a blur and your life into a reaction. The calm individual knows that urgency is often artificial, created by someone else's poor planning, driven by fear, or inflated by ego. They refuse to be manipulated by it. Instead, they prioritize, they evaluate, they ask, what truly matters right now, and act from that place. This isn't about being slow, it's about being intentional. Calmness doesn't mean inaction, it means composed action. The calm individual is not inactive, they're focused. They don't jump at every email, respond to every message, or attend every meeting. They are selective, and in that selectivity lies their effectiveness. Because they aren't chasing every opportunity, they make the most of the right ones. Because they're not driven by urgency, they don't overpromise and underdeliver. They know their pace, and they trust it. While others are sprinting in circles, they're walking a straight line to the goal. Calm people have more control over time because they understand its value. They don't treat every request as an emergency. They don't get pulled into chaos just because it's loud. They assess, they question, they create boundaries not to be distant but to be effective. Their calm creates a force field. It protects their time, their energy, and their focus. And because they protect these things, they have more of them to invest in what really matters. They become more productive, not by doing more things, but by doing the right things with clarity and conviction. Think of a skilled pilot flying through a storm. The ones who survive are not the ones who panic. They are the ones who rely on training, who stay calm under pressure, who make decisions based on instruments and logic, not fear. That's what calmness does. It gives you your instruments back. When urgency clouds your judgment, calmness clears the fog. When stress hijacks your attention, calmness brings it home. It reminds you that most things are not as urgent as they seem, and even those that are can be handled better from a composed state of mind. Most of the errors in judgment, personal, financial, professional, are made in a state of emotional urgency. We say things we don't mean, agree to things we shouldn't, abandon plans too early, or stick with them too long because we're reacting instead of thinking. Calmness creates space, space to assess, space to question, space to course correct, and it's in that space that real breakthroughs happen. Not in the panic, not in the rush, but in the pause. The calm person sees farther because they aren't constantly caught up in the immediate. They understand that pressure is not something to avoid, it's something to manage. They expect it, they prepare for it, and when it arrives, they do not fear it. They meet it with readiness. They've practiced discipline when things were easy, so they can apply it when things are hard. Calmness is not weakness. It's the presence of strong internal systems, mental habits, emotional resilience, and core beliefs that aren't shaken by every gust of wind. You can tell who has calm power by how they respond to delay, to inconvenience, to disrespect, to uncertainty. The ones who are truly centered don't collapse into drama. They observe, they reflect, they ask better questions, they turn every challenge into data, every failure into fuel. They are not calm because life is easy. They are calm because they are equipped. That calmness radiates into their relationships, their work, and their leadership. It gives them influence, not by demanding it, but by earning it through consistency and clarity. People often chase influence by trying to be everywhere, say everything, respond to everyone, but true influence comes from presence, and presence is only developed in stillness. When you're calm, you notice what others miss. You hear the unspoken. You feel the tension in the room. You become more persuasive not because you talk more, but because you say the right thing at the right moment. Calmness sharpens your intuition, your timing, your impact. You become the person who doesn't just react to change. You anticipate it. You move not with the crowd, but ahead of it. There's a reason why people follow those who are calm under pressure. It's not just admiration, it's instinct. In crisis, the human mind looks for stability. It searches for someone who isn't panicked, who isn't afraid, who can see beyond the current storm. The calm person becomes that lighthouse. Others feel safer just being near them. They bring order to chaos, logic to emotion, and strength to fear. They don't just survive difficulty, they lead through it. This calmness is cultivated, not inherited. It comes from deciding again and again not to be owned by the world's urgency. It comes from letting go of the need to prove yourself in every moment. It comes from anchoring yourself in your values, not the market's volatility. It comes from asking, what is mine to carry right now, what is noise, and what is signal? It's a mindset that has to be practiced daily in the small things. How you handle delays, how you reply to criticism, how you plan your week. And it builds with every choice you make to remain steady. Eventually, that calmness becomes your reputation. People will say they never seem shaken. They're always clear even under stress. They don't rush, but they always deliver. And that kind of presence, it becomes more valuable than any credential. It becomes the difference between being one more voice in the crowd and the one everyone turns to when it counts. Calm is your signal to the world that you are in command, not of everything around you, but of yourself. And that kind of command cannot be bought, borrowed, or faked. It must be earned, one moment of stillness at a time.